January 6, 2017, 1:52 a.m. A television producer named CJU sends an urgent email to his colleagues at Tiny Horse, an LA-based production and marketing company. CJ and most of the Tiny Horse team are on location in Washington, D.C., where they've been plunged into pre-production for a reality television series.
My name is CJ Yu. I'm the media lead. Oh, look, sorry. Hi, I'm CJ Yu. I'm the media lead for the inauguration. I'm CJ Yu. I'm the media lead for the inauguration. One of the producers for the show.
Each member of the film crew must pass a Secret Service background check, even though Tiny Horse has yet to secure financing or distribution for their hastily developed project. Yet here they are, a long way from Hollywood, burning the midnight oil, barreling toward a deadline less than 2 weeks away. The inauguration of President-elect Donald J. Trump. CJ's email details a call he'd just had with Sadhu Kim, who at the time was a senior executive at Amazon Studios. Amazon, CJ says, is interested in financing Tiny Horse's production, pitched as an exclusive fly-on-the-wall series centered on the final week of planning leading up to Trump's inauguration. Sadhu arrived at Amazon following his success as co-executive producer of The Apprentice and Celebrity Apprentice.
You're fired.
Remaining close to the show's creator, Mark Burnett. According to CJ, Sadhu, quote, didn't flinch at the $600,000 Tiny Horse required up front in exchange for Amazon's exclusive rights to produce and distribute the series. An hour later, around 3 a.m., CJ emails the Tiny Horse team again. He has great news. Sadhu got a hold of his boss, Conrad Riggs, Amazon's then head of unscripted television and distribution. Amazon is definitely, CJ writes in all caps, interested in moving forward with the series. After a sleepless day of back and forth, the Tiny Horse team seemingly reaches its final phase of approval. This comes in the form of another email, addressed to Tom Barrick. Tiny Horse's deal with Amazon needs approval from Barrick, a billionaire real estate developer who Trump appointed chairman of the 58th Presidential Inaugural Committee, or PIC. Tiny Horse and Amazon's deal hinged on guaranteed access to figures closest to Trump, including Barrick.
How did you get this job?
I must have alienated the president-elect because he took all of his brilliant friends and associates and appointed them to various positions within his cabinet. And he looked around and said, who do I have that can party plan? And he said, that's you. I've actually been good friends with the president-elect for 40 years, and I think he has trust and confidence, in my opinion, of how to interpret his fingerprint on the greatest partisan passage of power that the world has ever seen in a democracy.
Even though Tiny Horse hired a seasoned crew to film a week of inaugural events in Washington, D.C., the series CJ was so emphatic about in his emails was never announced and never streamed on Amazon or anywhere else. And so the intimate details of what went down during the inauguration of the 45th President of the United States of America have remained a mystery of global consequence, a mystery implicated in multiple civil and criminal investigations regarding unjust enrichment, unregistered foreign agents, and back-channel deals. So how on earth did the top brass at Amazon Studios, a company run by Jeff Bezos, one of Donald Trump's supposed arch-enemies, come to think it would be a good move to greenlight Amazon's financing and distribution of a reality series centered around Trump's inauguration? The answer lies in the tapes you're about to hear. This is an unprecedented invitation behind the curtain of power that you, the public at large, were never supposed to see nor hear. This is 7 Days in January.
The art of diplomacy is the ability to tell somebody to go to hell and have them ask for directions.
Are there really thousands and thousands and thousands of people reserved?
Because
what I'm hearing is there's thousands of people not coming.
This is Nikki Haley. She's going to be the new UN ambassador under the Donald Trump administration.
America doesn't. I have pretty good friends that friends from college will leave their jobs to carry my bags, to take selfies, raise some money for 4 months.
If I ever hear or see this, you'll never be another event ever.
I'm Rocco Castoro, editor-in-chief of The Nose, a data and documents-driven investigative journalism outlet that we're launching right here, right now, with this limited podcast series. This series features selections from more than a dozen hours of raw, unreleased audio exclusive to The Nose. It details some of the world's most powerful in business, entertainment, and politics, making shadowy deals for money, influence, and even, perhaps, diplomatic immunity. The specter of the 2017 inaugural committee entered my life about a year and a half ago, while directing an unrelated documentary on Deutsche Bank whistleblower Val Broekschmidt. The audio engineer on that project was one of the most laid-back yet thorough I've ever had the pleasure of working with in my 20-year career. His name's Eric Rosas. He's here with us now, and the first question I want to ask him is how the hell he came to record this monstrosity, which I've been describing as something like showing up to Disney World's Hall of Presidents, only to discover it has been ransacked and pillaged by the pirates of the Caribbean.
Room tone of ambience and cocktail lounge. From my perspective of like why we were even hired to go there was to create a documentary on how the inauguration was assembled and how all the events were crafted together. Now there was also another option to where we can make a reality series or like a docu-series about the staff members who are assembling the inauguration. So we honestly went kind of both routes because we would follow around some of our main characters and kind of do like a daily life deal with them.
DC is an amazing town though.
The maestro.
I just wanted to tell the story of what we were there to cover, which was, hey, there's this big grand ceremony being put on called the inauguration, and we would like to show viewers how this inauguration was assembled.
While Eric has, of course, protected the raw audio that is the cornerstone of our investigation, the investigation into what Eric preserved that day would not be possible without my reporting partners at The Nose, Emily, Molly, and Rob Waldeck. Emily is a young yet uncannily seasoned reporter who has worked with me on various documentary projects in the past couple years, including some with Eric. She also covers social movements across the globe, with her reporting, photos, and footage appearing in major media outlets and productions all over the world.
Hello.
In 2020, Rob Waldeck shifted out of law and into journalism, authoring The Black Ledger, How Trump Brought Putin's Disinformation War to America. Mr. Waldeck, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Okay, Eric, how was this production explained to you when you were first looped in?
When I was first looped in, John Chia had been talking about a project which was based on the inauguration. The production company at the time was uncertain. Most of the details from John was that it was Amazon-based. I didn't really know too much about Tiny Horse, but he just mentioned he needed some crew members to fly out to DC to cover this project. We were basically going down there to document the whole historical event.
Did he tell you specifically he wanted you for audio or camera?
For this project, it was specifically for audio. You know, we had the intentions. We're going to wrangle up some crew members. You know, you have camera operators, sound guy, you know, maybe somebody for lighting or, you know, or maybe a second, you know, first AC. So, yeah, it was mainly for audio. And then it turned into just me and John going out there to do the project. And then while I was out there, we got help from Andreas and Martin. Yeah, so, you know, sometimes I'd help out with camera. Other times, yeah, I would help with some lighting. I recorded all of the sound for the project and then also assisted with camera and, yeah, you know, and did some of my own filming as well.
We actually managed to get our hands on a copy of a pitch deck that it appears wasn't even used in negotiations with Amazon. And it was put together by Rebecca Murga, Karen Kraft, and Laura Waters Hinson. There were 3 different treatment options that they had proposed. all fell in line with this sort of cinema verite style, and some of them had a sort of countdown motif to the inauguration day. When they brought you in, whether it was before while you were on location, did they kind of tell you what sort of format you were shooting?
Well, actually, the details that I received for the format of the shoot was that we were creating a documentary. When we got into DC, it was still undecided whether we were using a verite style of shooting or shooting a more of like a reality series type of product where we're following around particular subjects and, you know, allowing them to kind of shape the story versus a true doc where, you know, there's minimal conflict of interest and we kind of let all of the characters explain the story. So the format that we went with was more of a hybrid where we did a reality doc style shoot where we were documenting the crafting of the inauguration while using particular characters to help explain the story.
There was definitely a number of people involved on the Tiny Horse side who have kind of cut their teeth in the reality TV sort of game show, sort of, you know, Mark Burnett Productions, which most people know, Survivor, The Apprentice, you know, those kinds of reality TV shows. So it would make sense that's something they're familiar with producing, that they might go that route. But you have all of the footage if they decided to go a more documentary style route.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason that you're even hearing this podcast, or that it was possible, has to do with the fact that Eric was not paid for his services following the inauguration. And that left the door open for him to do sort of whatever he wanted outside the context of that reality TV series or whatever they were trying to shoot. Eric, what happened here?
When I came on, I asked day rates, you know, and I was supposed to get my day rate. As far as when I was supposed to be paid, that hadn't been really conveyed yet. You just kind of figure paid at the end of the gig.
No contract.
No contract.
And usually when you get that kind of access to such important people, you have to go through a background check or, you know, something to verify that you're not a super weirdo who's going to cause problems or danger. Did you have to do anything like that?
Yeah. So during the process, I want to say like maybe January 8th, somewhere around there, I did get my Secret Service clearance. I did get the paperwork for that, I think beginning like January 4th. Yeah, at the time, his girlfriend, she was helping him kind of organize the paperwork for this. So, yeah, I did get my Secret Service documents around then, and then the clearance was within the week, you know?
And then, aside from your Secret Service clearance, which, you know, only took a couple days, you got it.
Yeah.
You showed up, it got passed. Like, did they offer up an NDA or anything like that?
No.
No. We managed to find, not from you, from another source, a contract that appears to be forged.
Right. And I don't even know how I've never seen that, and the fact that you pulled it up was not spooky, but kind of eerie, where it's like, well, when was this created and why?
Clearly not your signature. I've seen your signature because I've worked with you.
No way like that. And even if I really did have to sign something, at the time I would have just signed it. Yeah, the only NDA I got was an email, and it was supposed to be like an NDA for me to sign, but it was already pre-signed by this other guy named like he's a DP camera operator. And then I never signed anything.
And
the only thing I signed was the Secret Service.
And then the thing I showed you that we produced from another source that was close to the production, it was like your name scrawled and like somebody like put a pin between their toes and tried to sign it.
Right. Well, it looked like an e-signature.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's like a scribble, and definitely something I would never do. And then the producer Karen says that she had some documents that I had signed, and we asked her about them. And
you CC'd me on that email.
Well, that's when I was asking for my video files. Oh no, that's when we told her
that we were going to do the project.
Right.
And she did not.
Which was like over a year ago.
We basically said, if you have any claim to this, like you'd be in bad faith to not tell us right now.
Yeah, and she didn't ever reply.
She didn't reply.
And, and me and her have good relations. She was really nice. She was honestly like the team mom. Dude, she even bought me a suit just so I can go work at these parties. If this production was really put together that well and they had this much funding, the producer put her money up front and bought us a suit, So, I mean, yeah, she was there for the same reasons as we were with good intentions. And yeah. But the specific words that I was told when I was trying to retrieve my video files was that this project will never see the light of day. And they told me, your files are archived. They're with Tiny Horse. I contacted Tiny Horse for 4 years. And each time they told me, you got to sue John Chia and that we don't have your files. The producers told me they give up their files to Tiny Horse and that they cannot get a hold of them. And then when I saw that Tiny Horse was sold,
for a lot of money.
Yeah, for a lot of money. I was like, okay, well, did they also sell all the content that's archived? Did that add some value to them?
Well, now the company that bought Tiny Horse,
right,
Team Whistle, has now been sold.
And what's gnarly is Tiny Horse was sold for X amount, which was in like the double digits. Yeah, and then the value went up because they wouldn't even pay me. I mean, $2,200 to $1 million company is not much. It was $2,250 or something like that.
Did you have any political interest in taking this job?
There was no political interest within me taking the job, only because within the political fields, I'm pretty neutral. Yeah, I don't really take sides. And then at the same time, I don't really know all of the figures' positions or these people's positions. I came in the project to help create a historical document that showed the crafting of the 2017 inauguration.
So you didn't go in thinking, I'm going to make him look so stupid.
No, no way. Not at all.
I love Trump, so I'm going to make him look great.
Yeah, there's definitely no influence in that sort that had me want to portray anyone within that perspective.
Right.
My intentions for the project was for me to go help our team create this historical document. Yeah, so everything was neutral. And then I also come, with good vibes, best intentions. So, yeah, I was just kind of there to help everyone and also meet people along the way, too. And I also learned a lot as well, just from, I guess, working with the individuals that we did. Only people I recognized was like Stephen Wynn, Sheldon Adelson, I remembered him. And then, obviously DJT and his family. But most of these political leaders or diplomats that they stated, I didn't know.
You got shipped down there in a matter of days. You go through a Secret Service background check. And where'd you stay? Where'd they put you up at?
Yeah, we stayed at the Trump Hotel for like the first couple days, only because once you got closer to inauguration week, it was like $1,000 a night or something like that.
But the first few nights, your whole crew was booked up there.
Yeah, we were
But
all
you could have
staying
stayed at a cheaper. I mean, that's an expensive hotel.
I would assume it is. I mean, maybe they were getting hooked up, or it could have been free. I don't know.
Could have been.
Yeah, it could have been all comped. But yeah, I stayed at the Trump Hotel for probably like 3 days. And then we switched over to, I want to say like a Marriott or the extended stay Holiday Inn, something like that. Yeah, and it was close. It was close to like 13th and L Street, so it was pretty close to where the inauguration took place.
And Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the pricing of the hotels in some matter the impetus behind the D.C. case, the civil case brought forth by the Attorney General there?
Yes, exactly. That was the basis for the D.C. Attorney General lawsuit that was just settled or recently settled in May of 2022. They said that the PIC had overpaid on the hotel rooms to benefit the Trump organization. They also said that the PIC didn't seek out bids from competing areas, and in fact, in some cases, paid the Trump Organization for space that other places were willing to donate to the Presidential Inaugural Committee. A second claim involved a party that was thrown on the evening of January 20th after Trump was inaugurated. And Racine charged, Carl Racine, the DC AG, he charged that was a bad use of PIC funds. Two bad rulings for Trump. They brought back the claim involving the enrichment after one judge dismissed it. Second one said Alan Weisselberg, Trump's in the crosshairs accountant, is definitely would have to talk to investigators. He has knowledge. We've seen some emails going back and forth that seem to indicate that he was involved in the reporting of this. Suddenly, Trump is willing to settle for 750 of the 1.08 million, 1.1 million, something like that, amount, which is a lot. He had already signed a deal to sell the hotel in November of 2021.
And just last week, actually, the Waldorf Astoria, the storied New York hotel, took over the Trump International. You can get a Waldorf salad in D.C. now, an authentic one.
And so they paid the 750 plus fees. The PIC lawyer claimed it had something to do with the insurers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a big settlement. Having said that, there's a weird thing. There's this deputy AG who had been running the case. He was the deputy AG for public advocacy. His name is Jimmy Rock, which, he sounds like he was in Bowie's band in 1974, but actually he's a lawyer. He up and quit.
Well, we don't know if he quit, but he certainly has left the D.C. office and is no longer involved in any cases per a auto reply email I got asking for comment that said that Jimmy Rock left the office on May 13th of this year, which would place it right after the D.C. hotel settlement.
There's been some similar situations in New York. The Manhattan DA has been running a criminal case against Trump up there. Two of the lawyers quit when the new Manhattan DA he started soft pedaling the case. He's basically, put it on ice. He won't say it because it's politically not popular, but he's put the case on ice. So those two guys quit, and then this Jimmy Rock guy quits, but he's not made any statements, could mean anything. But it is sort of unusual because Racine just launched a new suit against Facebook that looks like it's going to generate a lot of light and heat, and apparently Rock wants no part of that. So we're kind of not really sure what's going on there, and there is some other cases which we'll talk about later.
And it also offers kind of like a blueprint for how other things may have worked in terms of overcharging. I mean, Hollywood events, hotels, these things are famous for, conduits for money laundering.
It really was a mecca for influence peddling. It's really interesting, too, because if you look at what Barrick was doing, Barrick and Rick Gates, the other guy, the sort of his right-hand man, who used to be Paul Manafort's right-hand man. And as we all know, Paul Manafort is also a very, very good friend of Tom Barrick. They were doing some very interesting things with ticketing. And it's ticketing and donations that are really kind of the key to the influence game, I think, at this inauguration. There was a whole set of tickets that were printed, and then they stopped. And those tickets were no longer valid. Then there was a secondary market in tickets, and these tickets could only be picked up at two hotels, the Trump Hotel and a Fairmont Hotel in Washington, D.C., properties that were under the control of either the PIC or of Trump. And we're really getting into that, and we think that's at the core of this influence peddling. It's definitely a smorgasbord of stuff going on that's all related to this inauguration.
Can you tell me about some of the other cases that are in motion?
A lot of people that you've heard today on tape were involved in some serious influence peddling. First, there was Elliot Broidy.
I'm Elliot Broidy. I'm one of the vice chairmen of the Presidential Inaugural Committee.
He was a top fundraiser for the GOP. Our investigation shows he was lobbying for a lot of people, but he was found to be lobbying for China to get a renegade billionaire named Guo Wengui to be deported from the U.S. He had fled fraud charges in China, allegedly billions of dollars worth of fraud. Basically, Broidy was convicted in the fall of 2020. He pled out after some co-conspirators pled out and testified against him. And then within months, Trump pardoned him. One of the last official acts of Trump's presidency was pardoning Elliot Broidy. But there's been a new development, which is that Steve Wynn, another friend of Trump, has now been sued civilly by the DOJ, arguing that Wynn has to register as a foreign agent for his role in the same scheme to influence Trump on behalf of China to deport Guo Wengui. Barrack had his own thing going on with the United Arab Emirates, and he was charged in July 2022 and July 2021, and in May 2022 they filed a superseding indictment on him, basically saying that it's interesting. They're not charging him under FARA specifically. They're charging him as being an agent. It's called espionage light, is the charge is often called. They're charging him being an agent of the United Arab Emirates. And if you read through the lines, the Saudi Arabian government is also involved somehow. But right now, the Department of Justice doesn't want to touch the Saudi angle.
And then the superseding indictment that dropped in mid-May 2022 basically said that hundreds of millions of dollars were on the line in UAE funding.
We're looking into that, and we're going to have some interesting things to say about that coming up, both in the written word on paper or in print, depending if you print it out or not, and also in the podcast. It's going to be pretty amazing.
I'm guessing some of these names probably won't mean much to people not following the investigations, so we should play a few clips from Eric's audio so the voices are a little less disembodied. First up, Tom Barrack.
So I think what you're going to find is a president-elect who has a keen sensitivity to listening, to understanding, to drawing firm and hard lines when he needs to, and this cultural sixth sense that with all of you, with the diamonds and the rubies and the sapphires that come from all over the world in the form of diplomats, you put those on the seamless necklace of America, and you will have a daunting world freedom. So thank you for being here.
Tom Barrack was chairman of the PIC. What does that mean?
So the PIC is the Presidential Inaugural Committee. So one of the things that that you have to realize is that the actual inauguration of the president takes, from front to back, 25, 30 minutes. There's a few speakers and maybe a poem or two. And then the president is sworn in less than a minute. But the Presidential Inaugural Committee, the PIC, as it's called by almost everyone in this whole situation, they do the events where the president dances, so the inaugural balls, but then there are dinners. There are multiple dinners we're going to learn about. All these events, prayer breakfasts, all that are controlled by the PIC. They're paid for by the PIC. They are, and where they are done is controlled by the PIC. That is a big part of all of this.
Rob, earlier you mentioned Elliot Broidy as far as the foreign influence cases. We can actually hear Broidy on the audio having a conversation with Larry Meisel, which sparked a tense moment with Eric and the crew.
That's good.
Karen, they're talking. Well, I think they're listening, so...
You're recording? No.
If I ever hear or see this, you'll never be another event ever. Copy that, sir.
Never.
You understand what I said?
Yeah, understood. Clearly.
Never. Copy that, sir.
So we had finished interviewing somebody, and we were standing near a table, and I would assume Karen, Rebecca, or John recognize these subjects talking at the table. So, I was instructed to, let's cover them. So I got the boom out And then I guess John started rolling. The two subjects were there talking for, I don't know, like 30, less than 1 minute, until one of the guys recognized that we were recording him. It's probably the boom pole, like I'm sticking out 9 feet. Yeah. So
hard to miss.
Right. So he told his buddy, hey, are they recording us? And then the other guy, I don't know, said something, but made it seem like, no, it's not a big deal. And then the guy who caused the attention looked over at us and then told us,
if I ever hear or see this, you'll never be at another event ever.
Right. So, yeah, he told us that. And then, Karen and John were like, we're sorry, sir. Yeah, we're just covering the documentary. This will never get out there. And then, I think John had stopped shooting, and then I kept the sound going. And then eventually, we said sorry and we left. But he was not happy. The guy had the deepest stare at us with no blinks, and he meant it.
So
he wanted
no
us
chance
out.
that he was trying to pull your leg or anything like that.
No way. But the funny thing was, because they're all veterans, so they were like, yes, sir,
Your crew was veteran.
Yeah, the crew's veteran, so they were just like, disregard, our apologies. We'll turn the cameras off, but I just kept the mic going.
You see, the funny thing is, if Meisel hadn't said that to you, it probably, we'd probably miss that.
It would have just rolled off as chill, right?
It just was such low chatter, we never would have thought twice about it. But because he said that, I went in and really cleaned it up. And
now he's going to be known as Larry No Blinks Meisel for the rest of his life.
No blinks.
Sorry about that.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a future episode.
We will. Right, don't blink.
And next we have Rudy Giuliani, America's so-called mayor, discussing his upcoming mission to Israel. Rocco, you want to talk about why that was important?
Well, I think we'll all be finding out fairly soon when we call Israel for comment on exactly what happened. But hint, hint, Israel. I think it's important because on January 26th, less than a week after Trump was sworn in, Rudy Giuliani met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to deliver a personal message from Trump ahead of a February U.S.-Israeli summit. In this exclusive audio, we hear the deliberations surrounding what turned out to be a historic visit in ways that remain unknown to the public at large, but that we'll get to the bottom of soon.
I'm going to Israel next Monday. Coming Monday. I'll be in Israel for 4 days. About a mission.
We also have John Renaga, founding partner of Tiny Horse and a producer on the inauguration broadcasts. Renaga's conversations show the drama of coordinating the press behind the scenes and shed some light on the various mistakes and organizers climbing over each other for control.
Boris called Christie and insulted her, called her a bitch, get out of my business, don't contact Tom. Yes.
Boris said that?
Yes.
Does he not understand the relationship?
Yes. So Christie told Tom, I've known Tom and DJT for over 10 years. What are you talking about? And literally insulted her over the phone. Christie, I think, sent a text to mention, but obviously he's very busy, but it's getting very nasty. And what I don't understand is why, and because obviously you must be aware, Boris has had several telling offs, let's say, from Tom.
In that clip, we heard Jonathan Renaga and Stephanie Winston-Wolkoff.
And I think it's worth noting that at the time of this recording, John is still listed on Tiny Horse's website as a founding partner. He specializes in strategic communications and public policy, I think, according to him, or at least his bio. And before his work or during his work at Tiny Horse, it's unclear. He was an advisor to former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair.
So we'll break down the days surrounding the inauguration with this incredible amount of documents and these hours of audio that we got from Eric. And hopefully that'll help us answer some of these outstanding money questions.
So now that we got the, sauce, it's all boiled down, it's getting real nice and thick. In the future episodes, we're going to put all the ingredients together and we're going to make a pizza pie. And, some of the toppings on that pizza are how much foreign influence, power brokering, and unjust enrichment sprung from just this week, these 7 days. in January of events that Eric so dutifully and professionally recorded, and how much of the conversations and moments captured during this production will be of interest to any civil or criminal investigations into the entities or individuals involved that we just discussed. And all you can really do at this point is just put your knuckles on the desk, grit your teeth, and stay tuned, because we'll get to the bottom of it. Until then, check out more of our reporting over at thenose.net. That's THEKNOWS.net. See you real soon. All the voices you've heard in Eric's audio featured in this episode declined or could not be reached for comment despite multiple attempts, including Amazon Studios' most senior communications executives. This episode was produced by Eric Rosas and the Nose editorial staff. That's me, Editor-in-Chief Rocco Castoro, Special Projects Editor Emily Molly, and reporter Rob Waldeck. You can read our corresponding long-form investigation featuring many of the documents and other evidence mentioned in this and future episodes at thenose.net. That's THEKNOWS.net.